Hello there, welcome to The Real You. This is Susanna. Thank you so much for choosing to watch my videos and for subscribing to my channel. Long time no see because of different and various reasons. And firstly, my 18-year-old girl had some health issues and that consumed a lot of time and energy, emotionally and physically and at all levels. And secondly, because I'm working now on my master piece, an online Ayurveda class that you might be interested in. I hope to be ready with it before the end of February. But before this strange and challenging year comes to an end, I would like to take the time to be with you and to wish you Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year, if you can use these words for what is coming next year. But let's hope and wish for a happy new year filled with health and strength and clarity for yourself and for those you love. And last week I had a chat with my friend Danielle on this subject, and unfortunately the quality of my connection was so bad and the sound didn't come well, and else I would have just uploaded that video for you. But the subject was very interesting, I think, and it's important to address it here again for you as the thought to end the year with, to end the strangest year in the recent history of humankind. And I believe that the outcome of what is going on now, these events, can and will be influenced by each and all of us and how we react to it. And the subject that we discussed with Danielle was letting go during this type of challenging, extremely challenging times. And I kind of resonated with that because I had been through this 8 months of extremely challenging situation because of my daughter's health issues. And how do you let go? How do you continue fighting? How do you see clearly when you're overwhelmed by what's going on? And I dare to extrapolate my experience and apply it to what we're going through as a humanity collectively. So I think first of all we need to acknowledge that these are not usual times. So I think the mistake that I made while I was dealing with my daughter's health problems was to expect me to feel as happy and as relaxed as I normally do. But I think acknowledging that what we're going through are not usual times, it gives some sort of a peace of mind and acceptance. It makes you accept it even more and let go even better way. You see, in Ayurveda, we function with these principles that like increases like and opposite heal each other, opposite are curing each other. And so when a person, for instance, experiences a doshic imbalance, we apply the opposite qualities to recreate and reestablish that balance. Also, the intensity or the gravity, if you want, of that particular imbalance or that particular symptoms require more intense measure or more intense and targeted therapy. So if we're looking at the world as an organism going through some intense process or of whatever nature that is, I'm not getting into that. But if we're looking at it as an organism that goes through some sort of very serious imbalance, that means that the measures also have to be more intense and more targeted, if you want. So these times require from us a more intense discipline. It is not a moment to just lay back and relax and enjoy the ride type of thing. Now, we are all connected through this invisible net of connections, and everything that happens collectively may impact and does have an impact on each individual at the physical and emotional and mental level, many levels. And to those of you out there who feel overwhelmed by this, please do not think of yourself as weak. We're all into this and we're all connected. And especially if you're more sensitive, you might feel this even more. This is strange. We have to be very clear about this. This is strange. This is intense. This is weird. And there is something going on beyond our perception or our understanding. We have to be humble enough to recognize that we don't have the answer to everything that is happening. But if you feel it intensely and if it affects you physically and emotionally, mentally, it doesn't mean that there is something wrong with you. Now, individually, when we're going through some karmic moments in our lives or some dramatic changes, Ayurveda, for instance, requires us to use all the means that we have to help the process through spiritual and purification practices such as fasting and the use of elements, the purification through the elements, through the water and fire, meditation, breathing, prayer. So when individually we're going through some karmic situation, doing all these spiritual practices facilitates the evacuation and the absorption, if you want, of that karmic seed. And I think that we can do the same collectively. And of course, not everybody will know how to do that nor feel the need to do it. However, the more we are that are doing this, I think the better it will be. And we all know that when we're going through some major and challenging life scenarios, we have basically two options. We either give up and feel crushed by it and depressed and, you know, just give up completely, or we can go the spiritual way and facilitate the process by purifying our mind and body and by growing and expanding through the experience and letting go. So what is then letting go in times like this? How do we remain useful in our daily life? So to me, anyway, letting go requires this intensity of practice, as silly as it sounds. Letting go means doing a permanent practice and a very intense working with your mind, a constant effort working with your mind. Every time there is a thought that brings you down in a state of despair, panic, fear, or depression, apply the opposite thought. Because you see, this is why we learn to swim in a swimming pool before going and swimming in the sea. So if you've been doing some practices until now, such as meditation, tapping, NLP, prayer, affirmation, self-hypnosis, mantra, apply them all now. This is the time to do it. Not only that, but also invite or call upon or invoke the force that you believe in. God, the Holy Spirit, the consciousness, the light, truth, divinity. And when nothing else works, and these practices seem to be useless to you or you don't feel for doing it, using the body has a very powerful impact. So either stretching out and assume a pose of reception, expand your arms and say, I choose to connect with God. I choose to let God, light, consciousness pour through me right now and become an antenna for that power. And if none of this inspire you or you believe that you don't believe in that at all, I'm sure that when you go outside and you look at the ocean or at the lake, at the forest, the mountains, you cannot miss it. It is there. You feel it, you breathe it. It is obvious because it vibrates. And this is the reality of who we are. And this is the force that we now need to allow to come forth in our lives to help us through. And the more people can do this, the more we can reestablish a certain balance. We might not be aware of this, but the fact that certain groups of people, such as monks, Tibetan monks, Christian monks, or any type of spiritual groups that are doing constant prayer and live in a constant prayer, are actually participating to the peace of the world and maintain a certain balance. So if you will, the spiritual practice now becomes a sort of necessity. This is the moment you have been probably waiting for all your life to make a difference and to use everything that you have learned. Because special times require special measures. You see, life is made of ups and downs. There are moments of calm and peace and joy and having fun and partying, and there are moments of struggle. There are storms that are showing up in one's life. And now we are in a storm and we have to act accordingly. So letting go in these particular times is accepting that we are vulnerable and human, but that there is something else beyond that, that there is a very powerful force acting through us. There is a greater force out there. And letting go is simply realizing our true nature, that we are mortals, that we are limited, that we are vulnerable, but that at the same time, there is this permanent aspect of us that we can tune into. And yes, we might be limited in terms of what we can do physically, but there are no limits as we connect to the source. I think that the turning point for every person on a spiritual path is when they realize that the grass grows without them. You see, I can be removed right now, instantly, as I'm recording this video. I can be removed from life, and life will go on because there is something that is taking care of this world. Always had. And probably this is the mistake that we have made as a human race. We felt the need to impose our will, to impose what we thought was right. And we ignored that particular force, that strong force in the background that brought this world into existence in the first place. Because every life form is governed by this life force behind. And letting go, to my opinion, is tuning into this greater force and letting that force acting through you. We want to fix everything. And not only that, but we want to fix everything fast and to get results fast. But my philosophy with myself and my work with others is this: do the practices until things change. So if you have a bad state and you did your prayer, your mantra, or whatever exercise you're doing, you're tapping and nothing changed, repeat it. Repeat it until it does. Because this is when you're exercising your will in your best capacities as a human being. If your mood doesn't change when you do that mantra or that prayer, do it 10 times. Do it 100 times. Do it 1,000 times until it changes. And be ready to accept that it might not change at all. But keep doing it. This is mastery. Now, at an individual level, life is putting us through all sorts of challenges in order to increase our abilities and to expand our awareness. Because if you don't go on that bike to ride it, you'll never be able to ride it, even if you read about how to ride a bike and see others doing, or imagine yourself doing it. You have to ride that bike and fall a few times so that you can learn how to do it. So what is the quality that will enable you to go through this in a better way? Because maybe happy or happily is not really the answer. There are situations in life when we cannot be happy. In my experience for the past month with my daughter, I couldn't be happy no matter how much I tried. You can't be happy when your child is sick. And I tried. But I was alert. I was connected. I was praying and meditating. I was open to receive all the teachings from that experience. And mostly, I tried as much as I could to remain kind and loving, no matter how much it hurt inside. So what will be the quality that will make you go through this and, let's say, at least be useful to those around you rather than bringing everybody down? Another aspect of letting go is not taking it personally. Now, spiritual people and wise people from the past, they all said the same. It's not about you. The more you fight for yourself, the more you are in the ego, and when you realize that this is not about you and you're not here for yourself and for your little life, but for a greater purpose, and you get a different type of motivation. We have to remember that as human beings, we have free will and we have choice. So we can always choose to feel crushed by what's happening or persevering into what we believe is right and true and to connect to our true values. So are you going to say, oh, look at me, poor me, or, I'm a victim of all this, or say, okay, I'm choosing to do something with my life right now and put my knowledge, my abilities to the service of humanity. And if you don't know what these values are, or if you don't know what these strengths and qualities are, you can just think of the opposite of what you are experiencing right now. I had a client the other day who was experiencing some sort of health issues. And I asked him how he feels about that and how that particular health issue is making him feel, and he said powerless. And so I asked him, what would be the opposite feeling, the feeling that will help you counteract this powerlessness? And he couldn't tell. It's very interesting. He couldn't come up with the word powerful, because what's the opposite of powerless? So how can we expect our mood to change if we don't even have a clue on how I would like to feel instead? Now, with my client who was feeling powerless and he couldn't come up with an answer, I asked him to put it this way. I said, okay, you have a son. Imagine that when your son will be a grown up and will be talking about you experiencing that and going through these health problems, what would you like him to tell his children about you? You like him to say, well, my dad had this health issue and felt powerless and got depressed because of it? Or you want him to say, well, my dad had this health problem and he was so strong. I was not even aware that he had that problem. He transformed it. He worked through it. He didn't complain about it. So it is the same thing we can do now and ask ourselves, what do we want our children to tell about us as they're looking back at this moment today and at how we are dealing with what is going on? This is a very simple way to reach a true value of what really matters to you, how you like to be remembered, and how would you like to know that you were able to participate to something greater. And have our children look back at this moment and say, well, they didn't let that happen. Or at least they resisted as much as they could for truth, for freedom, and for what really matters. Because you see, it's not about you and me. It's about life. People give their lives for freedom. People give their lives for other people's freedom. People endured in the past all kinds of atrocities during communism and fascism, not to mention before that, enduring these type of atrocities with dignity, just because we know that life of a human being is important. We know that life itself is important. We are willing to die to know that life and humanity continues, isn't it? Individuals are willing to sacrifice themselves. And that happened so many times in the past, in the history, so that others can live freely. So nobody is asking us to die for anything for now. But have we really become vegetables? Because we watch too much TV and we're too much on social media and sitting too much behind our computers. Or are we human beings, knowing what we're here for and standing for here? So, regardless of what is going on, acknowledge that these are strange times. Special situations require special measures. Use all your capacities, your knowledge, your abilities. Intensify your spiritual practice to the best of your abilities. Ask for guidance and surrender and connect. And act according to the deepest and the most precious values. And don't worry about the result. And let's see what that gives. I hope this is of help to you. Thank you so much for watching. And I wish you all happy holidays, a healthy, happy, and blessed New Year.